All right, what we're diving into today, it's a bit different. This isn't just a breakdown of a topic, it's a first-person story. A really chilling one, actually. It's adapted from a personal account of someone who had this lifelong obsession with cults, and you won't believe where that obsession finally took him.
So those are the narrator's own words. I have a strange fascination with cults. And really, to get what this story is all about, we have to start right there. That single feeling, that fascination, it's the key that unlocks this whole terrifying journey.
So you have to ask, right? Where does an obsession like this even come from? For the guy telling this story, it wasn't something he saw in a movie or read in a book. Nope. It started with something real, something traumatic that happened right in his own village.
So when he was just a kid, something terrible happened in his village. It involved a local cult, and it just shook the whole town. Now, he was too young to really get all the details, but that feeling in the air, the grief, the confusion, he could never forget it. And that one word, cult, it just got stuck in his head. As he got older, that memory turned into this intense curiosity. He just had to know why. Why do people do this? So he started digging, reading everything he could find.
But, after a while, just reading about it wasn't cutting it. It wasn't enough. If he really wanted to understand the psychology, to get inside the head of someone who would give up their entire life for a group, he realized he had to do something pretty drastic.
He decided to join them. Yeah, you heard that right. He started joining cults. Now, he didn't just jump into the deep end. He started with what he called the gentler ones. Certain religious groups, maybe some Scientology-like organizations. He saw these as his training ground, a place to see how belief and control really work from the inside before he dared to go anywhere near the groups that were, let's say, completely off the rails.
And you know what? After years of this, going from one group to the next, he started to see a pattern. And what's wild is how simple the basic playbook is. It's just 2 steps. First, you make people deeply, deeply afraid. Afraid of the outside world, afraid of dying, afraid of some coming apocalypse. Then, once they're terrified, you present the leader as the only one who can save them. That's it. It's such a powerful trap because it hijacks our most basic human needs, the need to feel safe, to have answers.
Okay, but his investigation didn't just stop with those gentler groups. He went deeper. He started joining the more intense, more isolated cults, and that's when the rules of the game changed completely. The reality of what he was doing, well, it got a whole lot darker.
In these places, survival meant one thing: total conformity. I mean, look at these rules. Every single part of his life was controlled. You eat the same food, wear the same clothes, wake up at the same time. This isn't just about being disciplined, right? It's a system designed to literally erase who you are, to break you down and then rebuild you in their image. And that pressure, it was constant. But the biggest rule, the one that holds the whole thing up, never, ever ask questions. Just do what you're told.
At first, he actually thought he could help these people, maybe open their eyes to what was happening. But he learned a really terrifying lesson, and fast. Their minds are so completely rewired that if you try to show them the truth, they don't see it as help. They see it as an attack. You don't become their savior. You become a traitor. You become a target. So after all these years traveling all over the place to investigate these groups, the story takes this completely unexpected turn. He hears about another cult he needs to look into, but this one's different because it's right there, right on his doorstep, in the woods just behind his own village.
So he heads out at night, making his way deep into the forest. And then he sees it. There's a circle of young people, all holding hands around a huge bonfire. But what's weird is how quiet it is. The whole scene feels ritualistic,
And this is the moment he realized he was dealing with something totally different. Because in the middle of it all, floating right above the flames, just suspended in the air, was a stone. And it was covered in these bizarre, almost inhuman carvings. This wasn't some religious sect or a UFO cult. No, this was something else. Something much, much darker. The leader of the group walks up to him, doesn't ask his name, doesn't ask what he's doing there. He just hands him a small knife and gives him a simple command: shed your blood. So he does it. He makes a small cut on his hand, and as a drop of his blood hits that floating stone, it doesn't just sit there. It shoots through the carved lines, almost like they're lighting up from within. And in that same instant, the whole silent circle just erupts into this strange hypnotic chant. You can't even make out the words. And then, the strangest thing of all happens. The whole scene,
The leader, the people in the circle, the fire, even the floating stone, it all starts moving backward. They're not walking. It's like they're gliding all together in perfect unison, and their eyes are just locked on him as they fade back into the darkness of the trees until he's completely alone. Obviously, he's shaken. He goes home, but he just can't get that image out of his head. He has to know more. So he starts digging into local history, looking for any clue, anything about this group he's now calling the hometown cult. And that's when he finds it. A pattern, hidden away in an old, forgotten newspaper. He manages to find this old newspaper archive, and the date on the article, it just sends a chill right down his spine. It's from 127 years ago, and it's reporting on a really bizarre local event. It says that 37 men from the town all disappeared on the exact same night. Vanished. But that wasn't even the part that made his blood run cold. It was the final detail.
Every single one of them, every single man who disappeared, was exactly 35 years old.
The connection was just impossible to ignore. The men vanished overnight, right? Their personal belongings were found later, arranged in a circle, in the exact same spot in the forest where he had just been standing. And the craziest part? After that one article, the whole story just disappeared from the papers. It was never mentioned again. It's like it was completely erased. And this is where finding that old article brings this whole story crashing right into the present day. Because ever since that night in the woods, that chanting, it's been echoing in his head, nonstop. And with that sound comes this absolutely horrifying realization. He's writing all of this down on the night before his own birthday. That pattern from 127 years ago is not just some historical fact anymore. For him, it's a countdown. And it all clicks into place. He finally gets it. That blood offering, it wasn't some kind of initiation. It was a pledge. He had, without even knowing it, offered himself up as a human sacrifice. And that chanting in his head, it's not just a memory or some random noise. It's a command. It's like a psychological anchor, constantly pushing him, urging him to fulfill that promise he made.
So with just an hour left until midnight strikes, he records his final message. And it's funny. It's not really about the cults or the floating stone or even the chanting anymore. It's a warning, a desperate warning to all of us. He's begging people to never give their own power away, to never let themselves become so dependent on a leader or a group that they forget who they are. Think about it. His whole life's journey started with one question. Why do people join these things? And here, right at the very end, he has his answer. Because as he sits there, facing whatever's